Okay, let's just dive right in. Picture this. February 1600. A man is burned alive at the stake. And why?
Yeah, why?
Because he believed the universe was infinite, filled with countless worlds just like ours. I mean, think about that for a moment.
It's hard to even comprehend today, isn't it?
Absolutely. That man is Giordano Bruno. So welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the material you've sent us, the sources, and really pull out the most fascinating and important bits.
And our mission today is pretty clear, I think.
Yeah, we want to get a handle on who Giordano Bruno actually was, what he believed, led him to that fiery end, and maybe understand why his story still grabs us hundreds of years later.
We'll be digging into these excerpts you shared about his, well, frankly, extraordinary life.
What's immediately striking looking at this material is just how dangerous it was back then to even think differently.
Right. It really throws into sharp relief the historical fragility of just asking questions, of intellectual curiosity.
This wasn't some polite philosophical debate club.
No, not at all. It was literally life and death. It highlights that age-old tension between, established dogma and just having the courage to question. And you see echoes of that even now.
Definitely. In debates about academic freedom, what ideas are okay to discuss?
Exactly. So the sources tell us he started out as a young Dominican monk.
Yeah.
Very much inside the system.
Steeped in tradition, yeah. But underneath, there was this real spark, wasn't there? An intense curiosity.
A hunger for knowledge, as you say. And it pushed him beyond what was considered, well, acceptable reading for a monk.
He was secretly reading people like Erasmus, Nicholas of Cusa, thinkers who were already kind of hinting at a much bigger, more complex universe.
This must have been electrifying. Imagine encountering ideas like that for the first time, ideas that just shatter your whole framework.
It makes you wonder what exactly lit that fire in him. What was the real spark of rebellion?
Well, if you look at the context, the sources mention these fundamental clashes he had with core religious doctrines. It wasn't small stuff.
Like questioning the Holy Trinity.
Right, or the veneration of saints.
Yeah.
For someone in the Dominican order, these were, deal breakers. They went right to the heart of everything.
It challenged the whole system he was part of.
Absolutely. And it makes you ask, what drives someone to give up everything? Their community, their security, their whole way of life, all for an idea, for something they believe is true.
And that's what he did. The sources are clear. Rather than take it back, rather than recant, he fled. He left the convent.
And began this incredible 16-year journey wandering across Europe.
Geneva, Paris, London. A real nomad of the mind, as one source puts it.
Yeah, that's a great phrase for it.
But imagine how tough that must have been, constantly searching for a place where he could think freely, speak freely.
Only to find that everywhere had its own rules, its own orthodoxies, its own people, ready to shut down ideas they didn't like.
Was there just nowhere safe for a mind like his, a mind that could imagine infinite worlds?
It seems not. But what's really fascinating about this period, this exile, is how he turned to writing. Prolific writing.
His ideas became his weapon, his form of rebellion.
You could say that, his way of fighting back intellectually. The excerpts mention the expulsion of the triumphant beast.
Right, that sounds pretty direct.
It was a really strong critique of rigid religious thinking, the kind he felt was holding humanity back.
And he had that powerful metaphor, too, didn't he, about the sun?
Yes. The sun as reason, as enlightenment. That quote is amazing. He is blind who does not see the sun, foolish who does not recognize it, ungrateful who is not thankful unto it.
Wow. So for him, reason was the ultimate guide.
It seems so. But think about the personal toll. The sources mention excommunication, betrayal.
Being hunted, basically. A fugitive just for thinking differently.
It really underscores the strength of his conviction, the sheer resilience he must have had.
Yeah, it's quite something.
And then, of course, we get to the really tragic part, his return to Italy.
Lured back by a false promise, wasn't it?
Seems that way. Betrayed, handed over to the Venetian Inquisition. And then, forget about why.
8 years in prison, interrogations, psychological pressure. The sources hint at real torment.
Imagine the weight of that. 8 years of them trying to make you renounce the very ideas that define your understanding of everything.
And the charges against him really show what was at stake. Denying the Trinity, questioning Mary's virginity.
And the big one, cosmologically speaking. Believing in countless inhabited worlds.
These weren't just abstract points. They were direct hits against the church's authority, its whole picture of creation.
Absolutely. And yet, even facing death, He refused to back down.
That quote he supposedly gave his judges. It's unforgettable.
Perhaps you pronounce this sentence with greater fear than I receive it. Chilling, isn't it?
Utterly. It just speaks volumes about his focus. It wasn't about saving his own skin.
No, it seems his priority was the integrity of his vision, his ideas.
Yeah.
What strikes you most about that refusal to recant?
For me, it's just the sheer nerve, the courage. It suggests a belief that wasn't just intellectual, it was like part of his very being.
Deeply held, yeah.
Yeah.
And then comes the final act. Campo dei Fiori, 1600. The execution. Horrific detail in the sources, too. His tongue gagged so he couldn't speak.
And then burned at the stake. It's a brutal, stark image.
It really is. But as the material points out, the irony is just immense. They tried to silence him.
And instead, they turned him into a martyr, a symbol.
Exactly. A symbol of free thought, of the cost of intellectual bravery. The flames that killed him kind of ignited his legacy, in a way.
A legacy built around this revolutionary view of the cosmos.
That, quote again, there are countless suns and countless Earths all rotating around their suns, just like our planets.
The countless worlds in the universe are no worse and no less inhabited than our Earth. I mean, for the 1600s, that's just mind-bending.
It completely smashed the old geocentric model, didn't it? Earth fixed at the center of a small, tidy universe.
Gone. Replaced by this infinite, teeming reality.
But it's crucial, I think, to understand that for Bruno, this wasn't just science as we think of it now.
Right, the sources say it was philosophical, spiritual, too.
Very much so. He saw the universe as interconnected, alive even, with the divine present everywhere, in everything, not just confined to earth or heaven.
So a sense of unity across this vast, infinite space.
Precisely. And that idea, that interconnectedness, the divine in all things, that was also deeply challenging to the established religious view.
So he wasn't just rearranging the planets, he was rearranging our whole place in the cosmos, our relationship with God, everything.
No wonder he became such a flashpoint, such a controversial figure.
Yeah.
He was challenging the church, yes, but also the state, the whole intellectual order.
His trial really becomes symbolic then.
Yeah, like a battleground between repression, dogma, and this rising spirit of inquiry, the desire to understand through reason, through looking at the world.
And you can trace his influence forward, can't you, into the Enlightenment, impacting later thinkers, scientists.
Oh, absolutely. His impact is undeniable. He wasn't just some historical footnote.
No, his story feels bigger than that. It feels like a timeless lesson, really, about seeking truth, about the courage it takes to question what everyone else accepts.
That other quote the source highlights, "Blind error, ruthless time, ungentle doom, shall never hide from me my glorious Son."
It speaks to that unstoppable spirit, doesn't it? Even in the face of death.
It really does. And it makes you, the listener, maybe reflect a bit, How does Bruno's journey connect with you? Have you ever faced that choice? Conform or stick to what you believe, even if it's hard?
It makes him feel relatable, actually, not just some distant figure. It's the story of anyone who's ever dared to think outside the box, to imagine things differently.
So reflecting on his life, the big questions he raised are still here, aren't they?
Yeah. Are we going to let fear limit us? Or are we going to reach for the stars, metaphorically speaking?
Dare to think, dare to question, dare to imagine.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've seen Bruno's incredible commitment to his vision, an infinite universe.
A vision he held on to despite everything, right up to his execution. And in dying for it, he cemented his place as this, pivotal figure in the story of human thought.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, listening. How did Bruno's willingness to challenge what seemed unshakable back then, how did that actually help clear the path for modern science, for how we see the universe now?
And maybe more broadly, what ideas seem completely unthinkable or radical today?
Right. Which of those might become the accepted truths of tomorrow? It really pushes us to think about intellectual courage, doesn't it? And that ongoing, maybe never-ending search for knowledge.
Definitely something to ponder.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.